Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dragon Ball GT Power Scale Z Movies Part 2. This one was a bit easier to do than the last one. And before we begin, I just want to mention that there were a few people who commented on my previous video telling me how some of my timeline placements did not make sense, or even asking me why I placed movies like the Tree of Might after the Frieza saga. Well, for those people, let me remind you, even in the previous video I said this, there are two videos on the GT timeline. One that explains which movies are connected to it, and the other that explains the timeline placements for the GT timeline. And I've also given proper reasons as to why the movie is placed over there. So please check out those videos. They are all part of a series. It's all part of the GT Power Scale. It's in a playlist right there. Check it out. And let's get right into it. Obviously, these are the movies that were connected to Dragon Ball GT, and we did the first 7 of them in part 1. Now we'll be covering the final 7, starting from Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan, to Wrath of the Dragon. We'll also be using the domination multipliers. If you don't know what this is, it means if you're 1.25 times stronger than your opponent, you can start to overwhelm them. If you're 2 times stronger, you can tank attacks and hurts, so on and so forth. And these are the multipliers that you need to keep track of for the video. Ki Blast 1.4, Kamehameha or a full power Ki Blast 2.2, Super Saiyan 50 times, Super Saiyan 200 times, Super Saiyan 3 300 times, not 400 because in our power scale we calculated as 300 times. Fusion Dance A plus A times 250, where A is the weaker individual, and Zenkai Boost ranges from 1.3 to 6.4 based on how screwed up your mind thinks you are. Remember guys, I am trying to beat Piccolo Daimao's power level of 225. We are currently at 186 subscribers, so please leave a like and subscribe. Help me become stronger than Piccolo Daimao. And now let's get right into it. So now this movie takes place after Goku and Gohan come out of the time chamber, but before the Cell game. And we had calculated that this was Goku's power level 1.5 billion when he came out of the time chamber. And we know that base Goku is able to damage Super Saiyan Broly controlled, right? Because he has the controller on his head. But Broly was still dominating him. So because Broly cannot tank Goku's attacks, Broly is 1.75 times stronger. Doing the math, Super Saiyan Broly controlled comes out to be 2.6 billion, which means base Broly controlled comes out to be 52.9 million. And then this is where Broly gets his first boost. He powers up, and then when Goku punches him, he tanks the attacks. So now he's 2 times stronger than base Goku, and that puts his power to be 3 billion. So usually in the case of Kale and Super Broly, what we did was, because we did not know exactly how much of a boost he got, we were just giving him 1.25 times boost whenever we saw them power up, right? But in the case of Z Broly, we have an exact amount that he powered up by, because he powered up from a power level of 2.6 billion to 3 billion. It was a 1.14 times boost. So now we can use 1.14 as his future boosts as well. To get numbers that are more accurate to his boosts, we will use 1.14, which is a confirmed boost he's already had. Then what happens is, the next day Broly transforms into a legendary Super Saiyan, so his hair turns blue here. He is still being controlled by the controller, but this is still Broly after his first boost. So now controlled legendary Super Saiyan Broly with his first boost is 2 times stronger than Super Saiyan Vegeta's Ki Blast. This Vegeta is the one that fought semi-perfect Cell, because Vegeta has not gone into the time chamber for a second time yet. He goes into the time chamber only like 2 days prior to the Cell game, and this movie happens before that. So doing the math, control legendary Super Saiyan Broly first boost is 2 times stronger than Super Saiyan Vegeta's Ki Blast, and that comes out to be 43.2 billion. So now that is a huge jump. Jumping from 3 billion to 43 billion, it's a huge boost. But this only happened because the controller stopped working properly. Paragus was pretty scared that the controller was not working as intended, because Broly's power kept rising. So the effectiveness of the controller is going down over time. So Broly is still in his first boost. The only reason his power has jumped so much is because the controller stopped being as effective. And don't worry, we will find out how much the controller originally limited his power and how much it limited it after it stopped working properly. But for now, let's move on. He powered up again, right? This was his second boost, and that power up was enough to break the controller. And once the controller was done, once it was broken, he went straight to full strength and he transformed into his bulky form. So controlled legendary Super Saiyan Broly second boost will be his 43.2 billion into 1.14, which is the boost multiplier that we calculated, and that brings his power to 49.3 billion. So this is really interesting. This could mean that the controller could only hold a max power of 50 billion before it broke. It gives a very nice number for the controller. Basically the scientists made a device that can only store up to 50 billion of someone's power. You go beyond that, it'll break. And now that the controller is broken, legendary Super Saiyan Broly can use his power to the max. Now let's look at this next slide here. Broly has now received his third boost. Okay, there was a scene where he powered up. You will see it on the next slide. So he powered up once again, and that was his third boost. And when he went into his third boost, he was able to tank Super Saiyan Goku's Kamehameha, as you can see in the image here. So doing the math, legendary Super Saiyan Broly's power level with the third boost comes out to be 333 billion. So if we divide this 333 billion by 1.14, we will know what his second boost power is. So legendary Super Saiyan Broly in his second boost is 292 billion. If we compare this 292 billion to his 49.3 billion, because both of them are second boost, that means the controller brought Broly down to 16.8% or 17%. Now, and if we divide this number by 1.14 again, we find out what legendary Super Saiyan Broly's power is in his first boost. And comparing that with his 3 billion when he got his first boost, we will know that when the controller was working properly, it was limiting Broly to a mere 1.18% of his power. So if all this seems too confusing to you, I've written all of his power-ups in the next slide. So we have controlled Broly when the device was working properly at 1.18%, and that his power then was 52.9 million. And then when he turned Super Saiyan, it became 2.6 billion. And then when he got his first boost, it became 3 billion. Now, because 52.9 million is only 1.18% of his power, it means base Broly's full power is actually 4.49 billion. Then we also had controlled legendary Super Saiyan Broly at 14.8% when the controller had stopped working properly. He is still acting under his first boost here. So his power was 43.2 billion. And then when he got his second boost, that his power was 49.3 billion. And since we already know that base Broly without the controller is 4.49 billion, Super Saiyan Broly without the controller would be 224.8 billion. That means we also know that legendary Super Saiyan Broly in the first boost would be 256 billion, second boost would be 292 billion, and third boost would be 333 billion. So wherever you see the percentages, it means it's where he's wearing the controller. Basically, the reason why Broly went legendary Super Saiyan is because the controller stopped working properly. If the controller was still working properly, he would have remained in regular Super Saiyan, not gone to legendary, and his power would still be 3 billion. But because the controller stopped working properly, he went into legendary and his power is 43 billion. But it is still the first boost. Both the 3 billion and the 43 billion are both under his first boost. And just to put the icing on the cake, he powered up again. So legendary Super Saiyan Broly with his fourth boost is now 379.7 billion. Woo! That is some insane power for the Cell Saga, honestly. Now, how can we be sure that these numbers are accurate? We know that Goku defeated Broly with one punch, and this was after Goku received power from Vegeta, Trunks, Gohan and Piccolo. So if we add up all their power levels, and these are all numbers that are calculated for our characters, so Goku with his temporary boost of power would be at 5.7 billion and his Super Saiyan would be 289.4 billion. And obviously 289 billion is less than 379 billion, and even Broly says it, no matter how much power you absorb from those small fries, it's not gonna be enough to overwhelm me. And he's right, it's not enough to overwhelm him, because legendary Super Saiyan Broly with his fourth boost is 1.3 times stronger than Super Saiyan Goku. So Super Saiyan Goku cannot overwhelm him. So how did Broly lose? Because legendary Super Saiyan Broly fourth boost was only 1.3 times stronger, Goku's attacks could hurt him, and Goku was able to punch a hole through Broly, and Broly's sheer power leaked out of that wound and basically made him explode. If you watch it, you will see that happen. That is the only reason why they won, because Broly's power was too much to contain. The whole reason why his body buffs up and swells up is because it's trying to contain all that power. It's like popping a balloon. Now, one thing I want to point out here is I put Trunks' power as 247 million, which is his power when he fought Semi-Perfect Cell, basically after his first time in the time chamber, but we know that he went in the time chamber again. So in the timeline video, I said this movie probably takes place after he came out the second time, and that is when his power was a little different. But this movie could also take place before he went in for the second time. Regardless, it doesn't change anything because he had already hit his limit and his power only went up by a very tiny amount, not by much. And even if he did put his other power, the higher power, the one he got after he came out of the time chamber the second time, if anything, it would just make this more possible. It would reduce the 1.3 to like, I guess 1.2 or at the max 1.15. I don't think it'll, go below that. Regardless, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly would still be stronger than Super Saiyan Goku, and Goku would still be able to punch a hole in his stomach. The main important thing is that we know Broly's power level, 379.7 billion. That's awesome. Now here's another funny thing. Let's look at the 3 legendary Super Saiyans that we know of. Okay, so Broly from Super, when he powered up to his max after all 4 boosts that he got, the overall multiplier of his power was 122 times to base. And legendary Super Saiyan Kale had a multiplier of 97.66 to base, while our legendary Super Saiyan Broly from Z has a multiplier of 84.45 times to base. If you take the average of these 3 multipliers, it does come out to 101.37. So on an average, the legendary Super Saiyan form with all the boosts is 100 times multiplier. That is awesome. It confirms the fact that the legendary Super Saiyan form on an average will at least raise the user's power by 100 times. Now, how strong is Broly? Broly, in his 4th boost legendary Super Saiyan form, is way stronger than Super Perfect Cell. His power is very close to Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's Kamehameha against Cell. But remember, Gohan was injured at that time. So a full powered, full rage boost Gohan, basically Gohan at full power, not injured, and with his 6.4 times rage boost in Super Saiyan 2 is the only one who can beat Broly alone. That's awesome. And now we move to plan to eradicate the Super Saiyans. Hachiyak. This was pretty self-explanatory. Hachiak's power might be greater than Broly's, so it's 1.25 times greater than Broly's, and Hachiak's power comes out to be 474.6 billion. And this makes a lot of sense because all it really takes to defeat him is Super Saiyan Goku, Super Saiyan Vegeta, Super Saiyan Trunks, Piccolo, and Super Saiyan Gohan all doing their final moves: Kamehameha, Masenko, Final Flash, Special Beam Cannon, and all of them have insane multipliers starting from 1.4 all the way up to 3.75. So all those powers combined together were able to, overwhelm Hachiyak pretty easily. The math checks out there. So Hachiak's power is 474.6 billion. I don't even need to put Hachiyak on screen for this. The movie/special handles the characters perfectly. All the feats of power are perfect according to the power levels you've calculated so far. Great. Now let's move to Bojack. Funnily enough, I have not even put Bojack on screen here, but that's fine. Hachiyak and Bojack, they'll both show up on the thumbnail. Okay, so Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is 2 times stronger than Bojack's second form's Ki Blast because he tanks this Ki Blast. And we also know that Bojack's first form's Ki Blast is 1.25 times stronger than Super Saiyan Vegeta because it was overwhelming Vegeta, but Vegeta was able to hold it back. And these 2 scenes are like the best examples of his power. This is the highest power emitted by his second form, and the Vegeta one is the highest power emitted by his first form. And we know that this Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is the Gohan using his 1.85 times rage boost, where he is in control. So he's angry, but he's in control, and at that point his power was 205 billion, which was calculated in the Cell Saga video. So doing the math, second form Bojack's power level is 76.8 billion, while Bojack first form comes out to be 45 billion. And Vegeta's power here is the one after the Cell games, after he came out of the time chamber for the second time. As this movie takes place only a few months after the Cell games and Vegeta was not fighting, I did not make him any weaker. I think that he at least has the will to, maintain his power level. And same goes for Gohan. Gohan did not really train too much, so his power also remains the same. That means that Bojack's transformation from his first form to his second form is a 1.7 times boost. Could also be 1.75 times, works both ways. These are his powers, nowhere close to Broly, nowhere close to Hachiyak. Very easy for Super Saiyan 2 Gohan to defeat them. Not easy for regular Super Saiyan to defeat them though. And now we go back to Broly. So legendary Super Saiyan Broly is 2 times stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan from the Buu Saga. As you can see, he tanked his punch here. And this is a Super Saiyan 2 Gohan before the ritual, before the Kai ritual, and that time his power was 372 billion. And we know that legendary Super Saiyan Broly is in his first boost because this is his regular Super Saiyan form, and then after he got the first boost, he went into his bulky legendary Super Saiyan form. So, legendary Super Saiyan Broly first boost is 744.7 billion. Regular Super Saiyan Broly is 653 billion because we divided this by 1.14 because we know Broly has the 1.14 boosts. That means base Broly is 13 billion, and that means that Broly got a 3 times Zenkai boost from the events of the previous movie, which is perfect because 1, he got brain damage, 2, his mind was filled with anger, he was only thinking about Kakarot, so he was not exactly that scared for his life, but he was pretty damaged. So getting a 3 times Zenkai boost is very appropriate. I love that every time the characters have gotten Zenkai boosts, they have been more or less very accurate to what we saw in the Frieza saga. It is awesome. And now let's see if these numbers work. Let's see if this power level of 744.7 billion really works. Broly only boosted himself once in this movie, so he still stayed at that 744.7 billion. So considering Broly's attack is also the same multiplier as the Kamehameha, which is 2.2 times. Okay, just let's assume that Broly's attack is also the same multiplier. So now we know that Super Saiyan Gohan plus Super Saiyan Goten plus Super Saiyan Goku comes out to be 477.6 billion. I don't know why I forgot to put the commas here. That's just dumb of me. But anyway, yeah, so family equals 477.6 billion. Family Kamehameha equals to 1 trillion. And considering Broly's blast also has the same multiplier, which means Broly's blast is 1.5 times stronger than the family Kamehameha, which makes sense as Broly's blast is still easily overwhelming the family Kamehameha. So the numbers don't lie, the numbers make sense. And the reason why Broly lost is because of Trunks. Trunks threw a blast in between Broly's blast that prevented Broly from further pushing his blast. And since Broly's blast stopped being pushed towards the Sun family, they were able to push it back towards Broly, and Broly died as a result of his own blast and the fact that he got launched into the sun. But yeah, and then we go to Bio Broly. Oh, this guy. Okay, so Bio Broly has the exact same power as the previous Broly because he's just a clone. So he is still at 744.7 billion. The only reason he lost is because Trunks used his brain. He dropped that fluid on top of him, and then when the fluid made contact with water, Broly froze, and now he was just a rock, and then they destroyed that rock. That's about it. So yeah, Bio Broly and Broly Second Coming Broly are weaker than Majin Buu. Now let's move to Fusion Reborn. Janemba took Super Saiyan 3 Goku's ki attack point blank without flinching right here. This movie takes place like 4 months after the Buu saga, so Goku's power could change, but I don't think it changed that much because he was fighting in the tournament. So we know that Janemba is Super Saiyan 3 Goku's power into 2 into 1.4. That brings Janemba's power to be 4.8 trillion, and that means Janemba is stronger than Buhan, who was only at 4.7 trillion, and Goku even confirms it. I ain't ever seen anyone that strong either. And in the GT timeline, this movie takes place after the events of the Buu saga, so yes, even though Goku has met Buhan, Janemba is stronger than Buhan. And some people must be wondering, domination multipliers might not work in this movie because, you know, Super Saiyan 3, Goku and Janemba fight pretty well, and Janemba is dodging his attacks. If anything, Janemba should be tanking everything that Goku throws at him, right? Yeah, that is true. But the reason why Janemba and Goku had that fight sequence was because Janemba is slowly learning to control his power. So first he was a big baby, and then when he realized that he cannot fight against Goku, he transformed into a figure that is capable of fighting. But this is still new to him, and that is when he was fighting Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and that is when Super Saiyan 3 Goku was actually being able to put up a fight. But the moment Janemba got a handle of how to fight, and the moment he got a handle of his true power, he just stood there and tanked Goku's attack, and then Goku had to run away. So power level wise, he was at 4.8 trillion the whole time. It's just that he could not use that power properly until later on. And since Goku and Vegeta fused for Buhan, obviously they fused for Janemba as well because Janemba is stronger than Buhan. And the fusion dance multiplier is A plus A times 250, where A is the power level of the weaker individual. Vegeta's base power level in the Majin Buu saga was 4.6 billion, and doing the math, Gogeta comes out to be 2.3 trillion. which is still weaker than Wuhan's 4.8 trillion. So Gogeta had to transform into a Super Saiyan. So Super Saiyan Gogeta comes out to be 116.3 trillion. If I'm not wrong, Super Saiyan Vegito was 119 trillion. So yeah, Potara is the superior fusion. Awesome, just awesome. And now let's go to Wrath of the Dragon. Hirudegan, the final villain of the Z movies. Hirudegan was only 1.25 times stronger than Ultimate Gohan. I know over here he's completely dominating him, but the problem with Hirudegan was that power-wise he was manageable. It's just that he could fade and the attacks could go through him. So none of the attacks that they were hitting him with were actually landing. But power level-wise, he was not that stronger. So if Hirudegan was completely solid, he would struggle against Gohan, but be able to overpower him in the end, and this is Ultimate Gohan we're talking about. And since this movie takes place a good 1 year and 4 months after the events of the Buu saga, I've given all the characters a 1.25 times boost. Ultimate Gohan was at 3 trillion, and giving him the 1.25 times boost, he is now at 3.8 trillion, and Hirudegan is 1.25 times stronger than that. So Hirudegan is at 4.8 trillion, which is very close to Janemba's power, but Janemba is at 4.88 while Hirudegan is 4.81. So Janemba is still the strongest movie villain. Anyway, we also know that Super Saiyan 3 Goku defeated Hirudegan. So Super Saiyan 3 Goku make him 1.25 times stronger than his Buu saga self, comes out to be 2 trillion. And that means Hirudegan is 2.2 times stronger than Super Saiyan 3 Goku. And we know that the Dragon Fist at the very minimum is at least 1.25 times stronger than Hirudegan to be able to go through him. So the Dragon Fist has a power level of 6 trillion, which means it is a 3.45 times multiplier, and it could also be a 3.75 times multiplier like Vegeta's Final Flash. So we don't know what the exact multiplier for the Dragon Fist is, but it's pretty high, it's on the high side, and I guess we might be able to find out if it really is 3.45 in GT. And there you have it, folks. That's the end of all the Z movies. I hope you liked it. Leave a like and subscribe. I will see you all in the next one.